Welcome back to the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Coyne, founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring, where we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Our mission is to empower gym owners and coaches to feel confident when talking about nutrition to their members and their communities. Did you know that HSN Mentoring has a free Facebook group for gym owners? In this group, you will find links to free help, trainings, live Q&As, and so much more. One of the biggest limiting factors to scale a nutrition program is systems. If you aren't able to provide a consistent experience and have standard operating procedures when working with clients, you're going to be writing everything from scratch for every client. Here's the problem with that. You are spending so much time behind the scenes to create everything, and when you look at your hourly rate, you are getting paid next to nothing. Trust me, I know this from experience. Systems allow you to scale. They ensure a consistent experience for your clients. Today, we are talking to Jim and Kerrianne from CrossFit Lah in Malaysia. When I first did a free call with them, one thing stuck out. They said they both sit in on every consult with a new nutrition client. I actually asked them to repeat it. You did what? They were spending so much time working with clients because they were both sitting in on every single consult and behind the scenes that they weren't able to scale their program. They signed up with HSN and now have built an amazing nutrition program. I'm so excited to let them share their story about how they've been able to save time and been able to help so many more people through streamlining the processes using HSN Mentoring. Enjoy. Kerrianne and Jim, welcome to the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast. Thank you for joining me all the way from Malaysia. Holy mackerel.
So far, huh? Yeah, thanks for having us.
It is so far. You guys have such an interesting story, and you guys have really gone across the world, built this amazing culture and this gym, now helping people in Malaysia with nutrition. Talk to me about what brought you guys to Malaysia.
It's a bit of a story. It's a bit of a journey.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I first moved over here in 2010. I was an engineer working in oil and gas. So I came over with an oil and gas company and worked in Malaysia for a year. I worked in South Korea for a couple of years. And then I came back to Malaysia with the same company, working in KL as a project manager until middle of 2015. And then I got made redundant by the company and went for something different. But in the meantime,
yeah, so in the meantime, I came over to Thailand in 2011, where I started teaching at a public Thai school, teaching basically middle schoolers. And I left Thailand after 1 year and moved to South Korea, where I started teaching in an international school in Korea, teaching primary school. And that's where Jim and I happened to meet. And that's kind of also where our CrossFit journey began.
Yep.
We kind of met, we're friends, and he talked me into coming to my first CrossFit class. And I had already known that it was something that I wanted to do, but I wasn't 100% committed to the cost of it because I was like, no, I can do this thing on my own. Like, it's fine. The first day I remember has box jumps, and I was take all my money. I'm in. And so, yeah, basically we started CrossFit there. And then I believe it was only like a month or two later, we had just started dating at that time too. A month or two later, Jim got moved back down to Malaysia. I stayed in Korea and taught for another year in Korea. And so we did long distance, a couple countries, about an 8-hour flight every few months.
Oh, wow.
Where we would...
She would fly to Malaysia.
Yeah. I'd fly to Malaysia, spend a weekend or spend a week or whatever it was on my school holidays and fly back to Korea. But CrossFit was kind of that glue that held us together too, because we had that common ground. He was coming to a gym here in Malaysia. I was going to a gym in Korea. And so every night when we talked, it was, this is what my WOD was today. This is what your WOD was today. I think it was, what year was it? 2013, where we both did the open, and it was deadlifts and box jumps. And I beat him in that workout. And he went back later that night and redid the workout here in Malaysia
to get you,
to get me.
You can check the leaderboards if you want. It's on there. Who took the top? Yeah.
And so then at the end of the second year, I moved to Malaysia, followed him, and then we started doing CrossFit together at our old CrossFit gym, CrossFit Lah, here in Malaysia.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. And then you guys obviously at some point in that timeline decided, hey, we actually want to do this on our own. We want to pursue this and help our own communities build your own CrossFit gym.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I got my L1 while I still had a job. So I was still working full time. I still thought I was quite gainfully employed. We kind of joke around that we would sit around with some other people in similar positions to me. And I remember having a talk at a restaurant, a bar or something, and them saying, oh yeah, I'm a little worried about my job. I'm not sure if I'll have it. And I was like, oh, I'm good. No problems. Mine won't be going anywhere. But at that time, I was talking to the guy that owned the gym that we were going to and a few other people, and kind of thinking of opening something as a side hustle, more for the fun of it and to do something else, do something a little bit more maybe rewarding and just have that fun gym that's yours. So that was having some talks in line, but it wasn't going to be anything that made a lot of sense for me to quit my job and do for many, many reasons, financially being one of them. But then I had gotten laid off. And then the question was, all right, do you want to do it or not? So thought about that for a few months. Kara finally pushed me and said, do it. And then we opened Lah in the beginning of 2016.
Okay. Awesome. When you guys opened the gym, what was kind of your vision to help the community? Like, what did you guys obviously offered CrossFit classes, but did it just start as CrossFit only and that was pretty much it? What else? What was your vision?
Definitely changed a lot since we started. I think when we first started, all we had really been exposed to was we do fitness. And so that's kind of what we thought it was going to be. We contemplated like, we could run this comp eventually, or we could do this, we could do that. But we never really even explored the nutrition side of it, just because we hadn't been exposed to it.
I don't know if that's true. We always talked about it, but we never planned on it for ourselves necessarily.
Yes.
Yeah. We never necessarily planned on opening a nutrition side of the business when we opened the CrossFit gym. Mm-hmm. It was more like, we're going to teach people how to squat and snatch and handstand push-ups. Those are fun. I love teaching those, and we'll do that stuff.
Right.
Well, you have a passion for fitness, obviously. Like, you opened up the gym as originally maybe a side hustle. That was the original thought of it. You want to show people that they can move better, and that competitive side, my husband and I are the same way. We're trying to go back and forth all the time with who's going to get this workout or that workout. And I think that's part of the fun of having a couple that does CrossFit together and owns a gym together, because you guys live, eat, and breathe this lifestyle, right? So you open up this gym, you start helping people with fitness, and then at some point you're like, actually, we need to start talking about nutrition a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, it stems back to a lot more. Jim is a former heavier person and has definitely gone through his own weight loss journey several times in dramatic fashion a few times. And so we actually use that a lot too, because we have been there. You can talk about it a little bit more before I talk about you.
Well, you know what I think it was too? We'd get a lot of people into the gym looking to lose weight. And I was like, CrossFit's great. Exercise is great. It's going to help. But it's not the base of the pyramid. It's not the biggest thing that's going to help you. What's going to help you is those 23 hours you're spending outside the gym. So yes, 1,000%. Do this. Work out. learn to squat, learn to move some weights. But what are you doing at home? What are you eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What does your sleep look like? That kind of stuff. And that was, very glaringly something that people needed help with and probably didn't realize it. And that, we opened it to help people. And that was one of the biggest things in the beginning was I was working oil and gas. Oil and gas isn't a very necessarily personally rewarding venture. Not for me, for others definitely, but it wasn't getting that much or felt like I was giving back that much. So I really like the idea of giving back to people and helping people out. And so it became pretty apparent that we could do a lot more and have a lot more effect, especially for our people, the ones that started with us from the beginning, if we added in some more nutrition side of things.
Absolutely. And I think, people go to a CrossFit gym thinking that the exercise piece is going to be what helps them lose the weight, when in reality, we know exactly what you said. What happens outside of the CrossFit gym, those other 23 hours of the day, is really what's going to push the needle forward and help you see results, but then keep those results, right? Like,
yep.
You start exercising when you're not doing anything before, you might lose some weight, but you're going to hit a plateau, and then you probably will start gaining weight because you're going to start eating more of the food that you really like because you're going to be more hungry, right?
Yeah.
Or beer.
or a beer. You never know. Do they have good beer in Malaysia?
It is available. Yeah. You find a lot of craft brews here now. They're expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're expensive. So you guys start talking about nutrition. I remember us talking a year ago, and you guys were doing nutrition. Kerri, you had your precision nutrition certification, which I love that certification. I think it's a great certification. And you guys were both sitting in on all of the nutrition consults together.
Yeah, we were figuring it out together. It was pretty much the plan. That was the plan to start. So, okay, we got our first consult. Cool. How are we going to do it? Well, we'll do it together. And so we did it together, and then we did the second one together, and then we did the follow-up together, and then I don't know how far into it we got. Maybe, I don't even know, 6 months maybe. And it was like, okay, now it's time to change. We can't keep doubling our hours to do all this. We've gotten the benefit that we were going to get out of it as coaches and getting ourselves on the same page as kind of like a shadowing program idea. But no, now's the time to get a little more serious with our procedures and how we actually run these so that it can be repeatable.
Yeah. And having not ever been through a program before ourselves, we didn't really know how we wanted to structure our program. And so a lot of it was a guessing game. A lot of it was, okay, this went really well, but this is what we can change for the future. And so we did do a lot of things together, but we also took a lot away together. And we're like, okay, this is how it can go better next time. This is what we can do differently for the next new intake. Mm-hmm. So it did work well, but it definitely was not efficient. It definitely was not good for a long-term project or a long-term business.
Well, scaling wise, right? I remember us talking, and you guys had a nutrition program. Compared to most gyms that start with HSN, you guys had a nutrition program that was many steps ahead. You guys were doing way more than most people were doing, which was amazing. You guys had built something pretty incredible in the 6 months from trial and error, right? Like, okay, that did not work well. We won't do that piece again. And I mean, essentially, you think about how we built HSN. It was the same way. Like, all right, that worked well. That didn't work well. Let's try something else. Let's pivot here. Talk to me about some of the differences you guys see with working with those clients and probably a lot of similarities, right? Like, we're all struggling with the same things with eating and things being too accessible or just too convenient, right? What are some of the similarities and differences you see when working with your clients in Malaysia or internationally in general?
Yeah, in broad strokes, it's all the same, right? It's quick meals, trying to eat something that's quick and convenient. Food, especially prepared food, can be very, very cheap here. There's a lot of roadside stalls, as it's called, like a mamak, which is a cafeteria almost, I guess, would you call it?
I mean, it's almost what you would think of when you think of like a food vendor, like watch
Yeah,
TV.
food vendors, that kind of stuff. But it's cheap. It's money out of the wallet. It's very cheap to buy a lot of this food, which makes it a lot more convenient to go for, right? Mm-hmm. It makes it very convenient to go, and it'll be, some of it's slightly more healthy, but in the most part, it's not super healthy, right? There'll be a lot of fried everything, fried vegetables, fried chicken, fried rice, fried noodles, fried everything. Yep. So that's abundant. And I know that was me when I first moved here back in 2010. I knew it was a lot cheaper for me to go out and get food at the vendor or around than it was for me to go shop, buy groceries, come home, cook them. And I was young and single and didn't have much of a kitchen. Or not much at all, really. So I spent a good year plus just doing that. Mm-hmm. Financial, it's not that people aren't willing to spend money on food. It's just that the availability of easy, prepared, cheap, unhealthy food is abundant. Yeah. Yeah, probably more so. A lot more so than I'd say, like in the West.
Oh, yeah.
So helping people understand, they need to invest a little bit more time and money into healthy food to help them see results and really take control of their health, right?
Or even just exploring, because at a lot of the stalls too, like there are a lot of options. And so exploring why a grilled chicken would be a better option than a fried chicken, or why asking for extra vegetable would be a better option than the big side of rice that you normally get. And so it's not necessarily changing where they're eating. It's about making the minor changes in how they're eating. And I mean, eating is just the tip of the iceberg too. I feel like for us and our community, we've noticed probably the most with sleep. People, I mean, we live in a capital city of a relatively busy country, and it's a small country, but there's a lot going on. A lot of our athletes travel all the time. A lot of our athletes are going all the time. And so they don't take into account that sleep is a huge component. And so while we're trying to educate about food, sometimes that's an easier hole to fill, and people understand that a little bit more than they understand some of those other micro things like the sleep and the water.
Yeah.
You have to, as a nutrition coach, really look at a holistic approach, right? Like if you're just focusing on only what they're eating, but they're not sleeping well, we know if you're not sleeping, you're going to end up craving more junk foods. You're not going to be as satisfied. Your hormone levels are going to be all out of whack. And then when you do start sleeping, starts to normalize things, and then you start feeling better. You're happier. You're less stressed. Now you're going to eat less because you're less stressed, right? So absolutely, as a nutrition coach, you have to look at a holistic approach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's 1,000% there. Looking at the whole big picture. And that's the first thing we do in consults is try to figure out, the first time around, okay, what's the biggest thing? We don't need to worry about macro breakdown or that if you're getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night. That's the easiest thing to look at right there.
Yeah.
The lowest hanging fruit for sure.
Yeah. I think nutritional education is another side of things, but I would say it's the same back in the States too, especially, I'm a child of the 80s and 90s and the food pyramid, and get your grains, and that's the healthy stuff, and avoid fats because fats are unhealthy and cholesterol is bad, which has obviously changed a bit. Similar over here and in the rest of the world, I think, in many ways.
It's not what we struggle with. It's what's the most interesting is that because of where we are and our location and the fact that we're expats that run a CrossFit gym, we have a lot of expats. And we have people from all around the world. We haven't done a count in a while, but we did a count maybe a year and a half ago, and around 30 different countries were represented just within our one small box.
That is so cool.
Yeah, like that's definitely one of our things that we pride ourselves on the most is that we are so international. And we've made a really big point to try to always be international, but it's also a lot of not luck, but we're in a very good position within our city. And so we have a super international community.
Location-wise.
And so location-wise, it just fits well for a lot of people, like come in, and we're close to a train, so everyone's in and out all the time. But when we're doing nutrition, we're talking to people from all these different cultures. And so I can be going from a nutrition meeting from a person from India to another nutrition meeting from a girl from America, into someone from the UK, into someone from Malaysia, and then Australia, without even blinking an eye. And I'm just flip-flopping countries and flip-flopping cuisines and diets and like lifestyle habits. And it's really cool that we are fortunate enough to have that and to kind of expose ourselves to that as well. And definitely brings a different perspective into how we coach, because we just see how many different cultures work.
Yeah, I think that in some ways, but in many ways, it's not even really a consideration, because the basics are still the basics.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Right? Still eat more vegetables, get some lean protein. It always comes to that. The three main cuisines here, you would have Indian, Chinese, and Malay. And they all have their own little things. A lot of times, the Indian side of things, very often they're cooking at home. A lot of times we'll get ones where mom is the cook. And so like, okay, how do I eat healthier when my mom is cooking everything I'm having? And it's ways to figure out that. A lot of times we'll try to get the whole family involved in those cases. That side of things might be a more vegetarian side. No worries, we work with that. The Chinese style tends to be a bit more carb heavy. They like their noodles a lot more, but they all are cuisines that have very healthy options in them as well.
It's just kind of balancing out the options that are available, right? Like, what are your preferences? Let's figure out how to make that work in your lifestyle so that you can stick with this, and that you're not having to cook one thing for one person and then something else for the rest of the family, because we know that's not a long-term solution, right?
By no means.
Yep.
So you guys started a nutrition program. You guys were both working together. You guys ended up signing up with HSN to help you get some more of those systems involved to help manage your clients. Talk to me about the process over the last year and how you've been able to grow your program, help more people, and really feel confident doing it.
Structure, I would say. Having a good skeleton base of, okay, this is our platform to deliver our program is probably the biggest part of it.
Having the platform of Trainer Eyes has been huge, because it's definitely not something that we had considered before. We were using another program, but it wasn't the same. And so one of our goals when we set out was that we wanted to create all of our own videos.
Yes.
And so before we even launched our program, we decided that we were going to be doing all of our own videos. And so we got on Trainer Eyes. We would watch all of your videos, and then we created all of our own. And so right off the bat, we put ourselves on a really good foot with like us being the face of our own nutrition program. And we used a lot of your content, but also made it relevant for Malaysia and for more of like the international community. So that was just an awesome place to start. And it really started getting the ball rolling as far as we now had a structure that we felt really confident in. We were still truly the faces of it, but we were also not having to recreate the wheel every single week. Because at the end of the day, we still are the owners of a gym. And we are the only two nutrition coaches. And we're lucky enough to have fabulous staff that we really don't coach that much anymore, but we're still there often. Jim is now coaching again. But we're still doing a lot of other things. We couldn't dedicate as much time as we really wanted to of getting this program up and running as efficiently as possible without help. And HSN really provided that help that we needed.
I think that's the biggest goal, right? Like we know you wear so many hats and there's only so many hours in a day. And if we can give you the platform and then you can make it your own. I love that you took a lot of our videos and made your own. Like that's the ultimate goal. Most gyms, when they start the training process, I'm like, we have all the videos professionally done for you. You don't have to redo anything, but eventually the goal would be for you to start doing your own videos and putting them in there. So it's not just my face, your clients see your face, right?
Yeah.
Then you figure out, okay, all right, by the time you finish them, you're like, okay, I'm a lot better at this now, so we should probably go back and redo them all again. By the time you finish that again, you should redo them again. Yeah. It's that yearly update, the annual update.
Well, the good thing is, too, we have all those video scripts that come out every single month. So you can constantly be adding new content in there. So it's not the same videos that your clients saw a year ago or 2 years ago, right?
Exactly. And we use all of that content for different things. Sometimes it's a quick love letter. Sometimes it's a quick video. Sometimes it's even just like an Instagram social media post. But just those little content pieces. And even if I don't use them verbatim, just trying to find the inspiration to have something that is relatable to me that I can put on our social media or send out to our members makes life a lot easier.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You guys do such a good job taking our content and creating your own. And I'm thinking of that cartoon post. Whoever did that was hilarious. Yeah. Nice job with that cartoon post. But we're talking about stress eating and, like boredom eating. And you've got Jim over here crying and then Kerri like, oh, you're okay. But you have to make it fun and engaging for your clients. And you guys do such a good job making nutrition consistent. And you've become the experts and really have authority with nutrition. If any of your members had a question about nutrition, I'm sure they would be coming to you because you guys make it such a consistent presence in your message, right?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All the time. Mm-hmm. The other big thing we liked about it, and we've used other programs in the past, is we didn't have the control we wanted to have. A lot of different kind of content delivery ones would be geared towards fat loss. And then you'd have someone that wants to gain muscle. And you're like, I have this great program that doesn't apply to you. So we'll take it off to the side and do something different. Yeah. So it's nice to have full control.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something before, and this is a question I get asked often, like, what about vegetarians? What about people that don't eat dairy? Like, how can you work with them? We have all of those resources for you. Like, use them to adapt to the client that you're meeting with, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. The vegetarian and vegan ones are big, especially because that's something that we've never dabbled in. We might one day, just out of curiosity.
Personally.
Yeah. But having those resources and knowing how to plan and how to, especially like with the meal plans, how to plan a meal and what those macros would look like, because at the end of the day, we are still all CrossFit athletes. We're all still doing high intensity several times a week. And we know that a lot of people on the vegan and vegetarian diet really struggle with things like protein. And so like how to set them up for success in that diet with getting enough protein and getting the other things that they need. And it's just not a platform that we had ever stood on before in ourselves. So we didn't necessarily feel confident helping other people reach their goal in that diet. But now having access to those things definitely gives us a little bit more of a platform to stand on and a little bit more confidence in helping people reach their goals.
Absolutely. What would you say has been the biggest thing to help you guys kind of build nutrition into your foundation and help you grow your nutrition program and be seen as the nutrition experts in your area?
I would say first would have been getting the certifications, getting ourselves comfortable with the level of knowledge that we had to be able to comment on this stuff. And have the authenticity and backup to be saying what we're saying. After that, I would say it's what would you call it? The content or the just repeatedly talking about it. Mm-hmm. Whether it's in classes or love letters or newsletters or emails or, just at events, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that's something we definitely didn't do before HSN as much as we should have. And it just wasn't something that really crossed our paths or we thought about doing. And so it was a little thing on the website, like, oh, we do nutrition. We had a few athletes that did nutrition with us, but we never really posted about it on social media. We didn't do very many love letters about it. And so by starting HSN, it really gave us that big push that we needed to be like, yeah, we need to start owning this and really pushing it, not just to our members, but to the outside world, putting it more on social media, giving tips, sending out love letters, making sure it's in that monthly newsletter. And so just kind of diving into it all was really important too. So like finding our feet and feeling confident with it by doing the certificates first.
Confident and competent.
Yes. And then by taking that next step and joining HSN, it really gave us that push that we needed to just find our feet with it and start running. And I think we started running right away.
You guys did such an amazing job running with it, right? So you've become the experts in that area. People come to you expecting nutrition to be a part of the conversation because half of the content that you guys put out is related to nutrition. And honestly, I feel like it's a lower hanging fruit. Like people need some help with nutrition. They can come to you just for nutrition, and then you can end up opening their eyes that CrossFit isn't that scary, right? You guys are normal people. You're not going to make them flip tires. It's going to be fine and fun, and it's going to be totally okay, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we have it built right into our no sweat intro as well. Our new member coordinator is fantastic with it, and he just runs with it and he sells it too. And so like it's right in as soon as people get now on a Zoom call, it's no longer in person, but as soon as people get into that no sweat intro, they know that we offer nutrition, and that's a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a missing piece for a lot of gyms too, is if you don't have the person that's doing your free intro comfortable and competent with the nutrition programs that you offer, they're going to completely skip over it because they're super comfortable talking about CrossFit. That's what they love. But if they're not comfortable talking about nutrition, they're not going to feel comfortable guiding someone to a program that includes nutrition, right? Because it's more expensive.
Exactly. Yeah. So getting him on board was huge. Yeah. And I mean, he's gone through the program. He's watched all the videos. He knows how we coach and what we coach. And so just having that experience for him, and I mean, he eats his macros every day. So he knows what he needs to do too, to make sure other people are doing what they need to do.
Which is even better, right? Because he can speak from experience at this point. Like, hey, I did this. It's worked for me. This is how it's helped. And if you're able to relate with people, you mentioned before, Jim has his own transformation story. That's it. That's awesome. Because people know like, hey, I've been through the struggle too. I understand where you're at and I can help you get to the other side. Right.
Yeah. It makes people feel more comfortable too. Like people are just more comfortable knowing that we have been there before.
Absolutely. I think your members want to see you struggle, like with them. Like they want to realize like you're not the superhuman that, everything comes easy for.
Now. Well, let's not go too far. Now, and also that we don't just eat chicken and broccoli.
Yeah.
We're not super strict with our diet. We're pretty good, we're pretty good most of the time, and that's good. I would say. Yeah.
But I mean, even during lockdown over here was called MCO, Movement Control Order.
Yes.
I keep saying it wrong. Every time I say it, I change some of the words. So the Movement Control Order, and in Malaysia, we were locked down. Like we couldn't go outside. So we were literally stuck in our houses, or people were stuck in their apartments for, how long did it last? 4 weeks? 6 weeks?
6 weeks.
And
no outside,
we have a public park in our backyard that we couldn't go into. And it was the law, and people were getting arrested for it. And so one of the things that we found very quickly ourselves is that we were wearing our trackers and we weren't getting any steps. And so while we were sleeping, we were eating relatively well, we weren't moving. And so that, we took it upon ourselves, okay, every single day, we're going to start getting 10,000 steps. And then we started getting more of our members on board and our nutrition athletes on board. And it's just these little things that we're doing and leading by example and influencing other people to also do that.
Yeah. Well, and it's always that thing, tell us something we can't do and we'll figure out how to do it.
Yeah. Our house is not that big. It was really hard to walk 10,000 steps in it.
Yeah. I could not imagine. I think during the lockdown, we were super involved too. I worked out more during the lockdown for us with the Zoom classes jumping in because I wanted people to see like, hey, we're going to do this with you. Like we're here. We have a garage gym, but we're going to do the same exact workouts that everyone else is doing because we want you to do it and you have to model what you want people to do, right? Like they're going to follow suit. And we ended up having pretty good engagement at our HQ location with the virtual, which we ended up keeping because we had people sign up that are not local. So they're still streaming in for the classes, which is really great. Hopefully we don't have to go on another lockdown, but it's an important piece of the puzzle, right? Like you have to, as an owner, practice what you preach and no matter what you want your clients to model.
Exactly. And that's the and that's the biggest amount of feedback I think that we get from our members too, and our athletes that do nutrition with us is like, they know that we practice what we preach. And they also know that we're not perfect and that's okay. It's about being that 1% better every single day. I'm like, okay, I had a little bit of a slide this week. What am I going to do tomorrow to reset myself? I'm not going to be perfect tomorrow, but I can be a little bit better tomorrow. And just that constant leading by example.
Or what can I learn from that?
Yeah.
What can I learn from that?
Absolutely. Really looking at like the intuitive eating side, right? Like how did I feel before, during, after, and what triggered that to happen? I love that trigger worksheet that we created a couple months ago. It's like, okay, let's really dive into that slip up. What were the circumstances around it and how can we react better next time? Because there will be another slip up. How can we do better next time? Right?
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
What would you say to a gym owner who was like where you guys were 2 years ago with your nutrition program, trying to get their feet wet, like just trying to figure it out? What's one piece of advice that you would give them to help them get started?
I think I would say if you know you want to start it, I wouldn't hesitate to go with you guys or go with HSN. Like it's going to help you define what you're doing, tenfold more than you would have had the ability to yourself through trial and error and, following some other things over the course of the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. I mean, essentially it's just not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah. But you put the work in too. It's not a plug and play. I wouldn't say it's a plug and play kind of thing. It can be on some levels, but if you want to build the program, be ready and focused on doing it. You can only do one or three big things a year, depending on what you're looking at. If you're going to do it, but be focused on that and have that be the priority for, what do you guys say? 6 weeks, 3 months, something like that?
For what?
For it to go through your incubator.
Oh, the training process. So during the shutdowns, gym owners were very motivated to get through the training and they were getting through it in like 3 weeks, which was record time. I actually think we had one person get through the training in a week and a half. It's still the 30 hours worth of work. I think that's all they did for that week and a half, but you have to put in the work, absolutely, especially during the training, because it does take time to revamp your intake process and really build nutrition into your message so that it's not a surprise when people come in and talk to you. They're coming in for the first time and you're talking to them about nutrition. They're not like, oh, you're just trying to sell me on something. If you really build it into your message, it's like, okay, this is part of our program. This is how we are going to help you, right?
Yeah, and we definitely took our time with the incubator through HSN and made sure we got it right. We're definitely a little bit control freaks. And so we wanted to make sure that things were good, but we didn't make it perfect.
Yeah, no.
It was more like, let's get it done. Let's keep moving through it. And then we can come back and tweak the little things.
Yeah. That said, when we all got into the worldwide lockdown and we're looking at places to cut money with all the stuff you guys put out, we're just like, okay, take my money. This is good. You can't get rid of this.
Thank you for saving us.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, I was just trying to figure out what could we do to help support and to save time, because I think we all worked more those first month of the shutdown. Every single gym owner that I've talked to has worked more hours in the month of March and April
Yeah. And that was it, is like, we were working so much more than we had been leading up to this. And we had been through another incubator in that time frame, but leading up, and we were still like, oh my goodness, things are happening so quickly. We watched it unfold from a distance, because I mean, we're Americans. We spent the weekend talking to our families as America started shutting down, and really not thinking if that was going to happen here. We really weren't sure.
We had kind of talked about it, and in the talk then, I don't even know if we expected a government shutdown, to be honest. The talk for ourselves is like, okay, are we in the right or the wrong here? Should if we're a health and fitness business, are we promoting health and fitness by staying open right now? And that was kind of the debate, and there wasn't a right or wrong answer. But what we had kind of agreed to is that when the schools shut down, that would be what we did. So Sunday night we were talking about it, no big deal. Monday morning, get a few messages. We hear from a couple, because we have a lot of teacher members, and so we're hearing like, yep, it's coming. We just got a notification, probably tomorrow. So from Monday, we went from, I was coaching a class Monday night to, okay, we're closing tomorrow. And we ended up making the call like 6 hours before the government shut down.
Yeah. But just having just the Facebook group alone was so valuable, to see what other people were doing and how they were handling it, and just getting the little nuggets of like, okay, this is how we handled it, or we used this love letter, we used this. Like, that gave us some confidence in what we were doing and how we were doing it, because otherwise I think we would have just been like, oh, I don't know what's going on, and just closed.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest struggle for so many gyms, that we actually closed our HQ location. I think it was a few days before the government shut us down, just because I wanted to close, see what the reaction was going to be, write out the script of exactly what we did, so that when gyms were mandated to shut down, we at least had something for them. And yes, I was surprised with how supportive our members were. Like, we did everything through video messages, right? I'm sure you guys did the same thing. Like, it wasn't a social media post. Our members didn't find out the same time everyone else found out. Like, we sent a text video to our members, and it worked really well. And I think if I learned anything during this whole 3 months, it was communication, of like how you have to cascade your communication to make sure your staff, then your members, then the public finds out, even when things are going 100 miles an hour. Right?
Exactly. And then it became that challenge too of like, we need to be constantly in communication with everyone, but we also need to keep people engaged and wanting to come back. And we're providing more, because we are still charging a decent amount of money for a facility that they're no longer being able to use. And so we did rent out our equipment and things like that, but then having the challenge, the HSN challenge launch, we did it on May, whatever date it was, that first
May
Monday.
1st, yeah. Or whatever that is.
Yeah. And that got some great feedback. Like, we had so many people become really engaged. We had a couple people buy in, like from Singapore.
Oh, and
this wouldn't have even.
This was 6 weeks in too. We already locked down for 6 weeks, and then pulling people back and keeping them going.
Yeah. And so just having that alone was huge, because I think.
Did you guys end up reusing your?
No, we used the video.
You used ours? Cool.
Yours, yeah.
Oh yeah, we
were before we started the challenge. We were waiting, and of course, everything shows up here about 12 hours after So we were like in the middle of the night. Maybe we'll make our own videos again, because that's what we've always done. And then yours came up, and they were so good.
Yeah.
And we're like, we can't recreate this. They're way better than what we have the capacity for. And that's what it came down to too, is that we were stretched way thin, and we just no longer had the capacity to create anything mind-blowing ourselves. And so being able to just plug those videos in, keep everyone engaged, keep everyone happy while we sorted what was coming next. And so it gave us a little bit of a breather of what was coming next.
Well, and that was it too. Like the lockdown happened. I was talking to a bunch of other gym owners after the fact, and the way that Malaysia did it is they said it's 2 weeks. Lockdown is 2 weeks, and we never expected it to be 2 weeks, but that's what the government said. And so a lot of the gyms said, okay, we're shut down. See you in 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks.
Great 2 week deload.
Yeah, 2 week deload, take a break. We'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll extend your bills 2 weeks or whatever it is. And then 2 weeks turn to 4 weeks. And then 4 weeks turn to 6 weeks. And then 6 weeks turn to 3 months.
It was, it's 3
essentially
months.
3 months. We closed on the 17th or the 18th of March, and we were able to reopen on June 15th. And then the thing is like, okay, well, what I was hearing around is we can't charge our members because they're not getting a service. And for us, it's like we're not an access gym. People don't come to us to borrow equipment for a period of time. They come to us for coaching. And that doesn't change. That doesn't need to change with the gyms there or not. But figuring out how to do that and shift 180 degrees that direction is definitely hard as a gym owner in that time. I think a lot of people in the industry were giving out, I got invited to, I don't even know how many like Zoom discussion boards or watch this video of us talking about what you can do. And I was like, I don't have the time to watch anyone talking about the ideas of what I need to do. I know what I need to do. But for you guys to put together a nice package and say, here, do this, and then we can say, yes, this is great. We can pick and choose, move things in and out, do it how we want to do it. But it made that side of things so much easier so that we could coach our people and we could talk to them daily and catch up with them and make sure they had some accountability and support when they needed it.
Absolutely. At this point, you had to get creative with how you're going to keep your people engaged, because the stuff that worked week 1 and week 2 did not work on week 10 and week 12. Like it just didn't. So you had to continuously get creative to keep people engaged, and then more importantly, get them super pumped to come back to your facility. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And ultimately, the underlying reason why we even own a gym is because we want to create healthier, fitter humans. And so if we had just walked away when we closed and said, okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks, or we'll see you in 6 weeks, or whatever it was, we weren't really fulfilling what we set out to do. And so by being able to make a very quick shift and continue to provide a lot of value, more value than we ever would provide in a normal facility, we were able to really stay true to ourselves too, and like our own core values, and why we opened up CrossFit Lah, because we are now continuing to help people become fitter and healthier, and even just mentally stay a little bit more sane.
Yeah.
People being locked down in apartments for 6 weeks, it really takes a toll, and it's very, very challenging.
Going back to what you talked about before, really looking at the holistic approach, you guys have done such an amazing job taking what we've created and made it your own and put different spins on it to help a community that's diverse with the same problems, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm excited to continue to watch you guys grow your nutrition program and continue to help build that nutrition only piece, and nutrition and fitness. People can come to you guys just for nutrition help or nutrition and fitness. You guys are doing such an amazing job. Any final words before we hop off? Thank you guys for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and just thank you for everything for the last 3 months.
Yeah, definitely.
What you guys have provided for us, even halfway across the world throughout this worldwide pandemic, has been just mind-blowing. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. I'm so happy to help you guys. If you are a gym owner and you are looking to save time and not reinvent the wheel, I want to help. Book a free call today so that you can learn how HSN Mentoring can help you turn an informal conversation about nutrition into a comprehensive nutrition program that you can offer to your members and non-members. Think about how many people in your community who might not be interested in your gym, but would be interested in nutrition coaching. This is exactly how we teach gyms to build nutrition coaching outside of the walls of their gym. Now is the time to be thinking about building a nutrition program and what your business will look like in 2021. Head over to growyournutritionbusiness.com and book a free call today.